Hello, good day everyone. I am Mr. Pulintan III from Section C1, and for today's video, I'll be your reporter. And before we start on our discussion, first let me introduce to you who is Albert Ellis. So he was an American psychologist and psychotherapy. He is known as founder of Rational Emotive Behavior Therapy or REBT and born on September 27, 1913 in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and died on July 24, 2007 in New York. And his spouse is Dr. D.B. Joffrey Ellis, also a psychologist. And his parents is Mr. Harry and Mrs. Hattie Ellis. And his education background, he held MA and PhD degrees in psychology from Columbia University and was certified by the American Board of Professional Psychology or ABPP. Albert Ellis was an influential psychologist who developed rational emotive behavior therapy. He played a vital role in the cognitive revolution that took place in the field of psychotherapy and helped influence the rise of cognitive behavioral approaches as a treatment approach. Also, he is generally considered to be one of the originators of the cognitive revolutionary paradigm shift in psychotherapy and an early proponent and developer of cognitive behavioral therapies. And now, what is cognitive behavioral therapy? Cognitive behavioral therapy or CBT is focuses on changing the automatic negative thoughts that can contribute to and worsen emotional difficulties, depression, and anxiety. These spontaneous negative thoughts have a detrimental influence on mood. In short, CBT theory suggests that our thoughts, emotions, and body sensations and behavior are all connected, and that what we think and do affects the way we feel. Thousands of research trials have demonstrated that CBT is an effective treatment for conditions from anxiety and depression to pain and insomnia. It is helpful across the lifespan. Children, adolescents, adults, and older adults can all benefit. It has been proven to be effective in face-to-face, online, and self-help formats. To elaborate more, CBT is based on the idea that how we think, how we feel, and how we act all intact together. Specifically, our thoughts determine our feelings and our behavior, and it aims to help people become aware of when they make negative interpretations and of behavioral patterns which reinforce the distorted thinking. Cognitive therapy helps people to develop alternative ways of thinking and behaving which aims to reduce their psychological distress. And now there are some of the techniques that are most often used with CBT includes the following 9 strategies. Number 1. Cognitive restructuring or reframing. This involves taking a hard look at negative thought patterns. Perhaps you tend to overgeneralize, assume the worst will happen, or place far too much importance on minor details. Thinking this way can affect what you do and it can even become a self-fulfilling prophecy. Your therapist will ask about your thought process in certain situations so you can identify negative patterns. Once you're aware of them, you can learn how to reframe those thoughts so they're more positive and productive. For example, I blew the report because I'm totally useless can become that report was not my best work, but I am a valuable employee and I contribute in many ways. Number 2. Guided discovery. In guided discovery, the therapist will acquaint themselves with your viewpoint. Then they'll ask questions designed to challenge your beliefs and broaden your thinking. You might be asked to give evidence that supports your assumptions, as well as evidence that does not. In the process, you learn to see things from other perspectives, especially ones that you may not have considered before. This can help you choose a more helpful path. Number 3, exposure therapy. Exposure therapy can be used to confront fears and phobias. The therapist will slowly expose you to the things that provoke fear or anxiety while providing guidance on how to cope with them in the moment. This can be done in small increments. Eventually, exposure can make you feel less vulnerable and more confident in your coping abilities. Number 4. Journaling and thought records. Writing is a time-honored way of getting in touch with your own thoughts. Your therapist may ask you to list negative thoughts that occurred to you between sessions as well as positive thoughts you can choose instead. Another writing exercise is to keep track of the new thoughts and new behaviors you put into practice since the last season. Putting it in writing can help you see how far you've come. Number 5. Activity scheduling and behavior activation. If there is an activity you tend to put off or avoid due to fear or anxiety, getting it on your calendar can help. Once the burden of decision is gone, you may be more likely to follow through. Activity scheduling can help establish good habits and provide ample opportunity to put what you've learned into practice. Number 6. Behavioral experiments. Behavioral experiments are typically used for anxiety disorders that involve catastrophic thinking. Before embarking on a task that normally makes you anxious, you'll be asked to predict what will happen. Later, you talk about whether the prediction came true. Over time, you may start to see that the predicted catastrophe is actually not very likely to happen. You'll likely start with lower anxiety tasks and build up from there. Number 7. Relaxation and stress reduction techniques. In CBT, you may be taught some progressive relaxation techniques such as deep breathing exercises, muscle relaxation, imagery. You learn practical skills to help lower stress and increase your sense of control. This can be helpful in dealing with phobias, social anxieties, and other stressors. Number 8. Role playing. Role playing can help you work through different behaviors in potentially difficult situations. Playing out possible scenarios can lessen fear and can be used for improving problem solving skills, gaining familiarity and confidence in certain situations, practicing social skills, assertiveness training, improving communication skills. And the last one is the successive approximation. This involves taking tasks that seems overwhelming and breaking them into smaller, more achievable steps. Each successive step builds upon the previous steps so you gain confidence as you go, bit by bit. And now, we will proceed in rational emotive behavior therapy. Rational emotive behavior therapy, or REBT, is a type of cognitive behavioral therapy developed by psychologist Albert Ellis. REBT is an action-oriented approach that's focused on helping people deal with irrational beliefs and learn how to manage their emotions, thoughts, and behaviors in a healthier and more realistic way. When people hold irrational beliefs about themselves or the world, problems can result. The goal of REBT is to help people recognize and alter those beliefs and negative thinking patterns in order to overcome psychological problems and mental distress. According to REBT, our cognition, emotions, and behavior are connected. In order to understand the impact of events and situations that people encounter throughout life, it's essential to look at the beliefs people hold about these experiences and the emotions that arise as a result of those beliefs. Albert Ellis proposes that each of us hold a unique set of assumptions about ourselves and our world that serve to guide us through life and determine our reactions to the various situations we encounter. Unfortunately, some people's assumptions are largely irrational, getting them to act and react in ways that are inappropriate and that prejudice their chances of happiness and success. Albert Ellis calls these basic irrational assumptions. And some people irrationally assume that they are failures if they are not loved by everyone they know. They constantly seek approval and repeatedly feel rejected. All their interactions are affected by this assumption, so that a great party can leave them satisfied because they don't get enough compliments. According to Ellis, these are other common irrational assumptions. First, the idea that one should be thoroughly competent at everything. Second, the idea that is it catastrophic when things are not the way you want them to be. Third, the idea that people have no control over their happiness. Fourth, the idea that you need someone stronger than yourself to be dependent on. Fifth, the idea that your past history greatly influences your present life. The last one is the idea that there is a perfect solution to human problems, and it's a disaster if you don't find it. Ellis believes that people often forcefully hold on to this illogical way of thinking and therefore employs highly emotive techniques to help them vigorously and forcefully change this irrational thinking. And principles of RABT. A core concept of RABT is the ABC model. This model explains how, while we may blame external events for our unhappiness, it is our perception of these events that lies at the heart of psychological distress. REBT is grounded in the idea that people generally want to do well in life and reach their goal. For example, you probably want to achieve your goals and find happiness, but sometimes irrational thoughts and feelings get in the way. These beliefs can influence how you perceive circumstances and events, usually not for the better. Here's how this example illustrates the core principles called the ABCs of REBT. A refers to the activating event or situation that triggers a negative reaction or response. In this example, the A is the lack of reply, and B refers to the beliefs or irrational thoughts you might have about an event or situation. The B in the example is the belief that they don't want to see you anymore, or that you've done something wrong and you will be alone for the rest of your life. And C refers to the consequences, often the distressing emotions that result from the irrational thoughts or beliefs. In this, in this example, that might include feelings of worthlessness or not being good enough. In this scenario, RABT would focus on helping you to reframe how you think about why the person did not respond. Maybe they were busy or simply forgot to respond, or maybe they are not interested in meeting you again. If so, That does not mean there's something wrong with you or that you will spend the rest of your life alone. Here's the techniques used in RABT. RABT uses three main types of techniques, which correspond with the ABCs. Each therapist might use a slightly different combination of techniques depending on both their past clinical experiences and your symptoms. And the first one is the problem solving techniques. These strategies can help address the activating event. They often include working to develop, like problem solving skills, assertiveness, social skills, decision making skills, conflict resolution skills. The second is the cognitive restructuring techniques. These strategies helps you to change irrational beliefs. They might include the logical or rationalizing techniques, guided imagery and visualization, reframing or looking at events in a different way, humor and irony, exposure to a feared situation, disputing irrational thoughts. And the last one is the coping techniques. Coping techniques can help you better manage the emotional consequences of irrational thoughts. These coping techniques may include the relaxation, hypnosis, meditation, mindfulness, breathing exercises. And that would be all. I hope you learned something new from me, and thank you for listening. God bless.